Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week, again, I have recruited the Brothers of Destruction, the Slime Time Generals, the Keepers of the Quests. I don't fucking know, I lost it. Nate and Willie, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great, man. Glad to be here again, as usual.
Good evening.
Good evening. Goo! Yeah, man, fucking Dragon Quest 11. It's been a long time coming. I've been looking forward to playing this game in its entirety and for a long ass time. And before we get into that, though, I want to go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. So it is today the 1 year anniversary since the podcast started. And it's a cool feeling, man. It's a cool feeling. It's the first time I've stuck with something for over a year in a long time. Between this and doing the music that I've been doing now for like a year, maybe a little more than a year now. It's been real fun, man. It's been real fun. So I figured I would, talk about some of my favorite memories. Ryan, unfortunately, could not make it for this episode, but I'm sure he sends his condolences and love to everybody who came and listened to us in the beginning and stuck with it. It's much appreciated. It's much appreciated. And having people come on and be guests like James from the JRPG Report, or Nate and Willie coming in clutch when I wasn't sure that I was going to have a host or anybody to talk to for a while after when Ryan had to bow out. It's been like I really do appreciate it. It means a lot that everybody has been listening for an entire fucking year. Like the fact that I've got as many downloads as we have is quite humbling, and I do appreciate it quite a bit. But I figured that we would talk about, or I could bring up some of my favorite memories looking through these old episodes and stuff, and then you guys can chime in if you have listened to that episode, because I don't expect either of you to have listened to every single episode, because there's years worth of them now.
I've listened to every single episode.
Oh my god! Well, then there you go, motherfucker. Surprising the shit out of me. The first episode that we did was Serious Sam, and I'm looking at it and at the amount of downloads it's got, and I'm like, I'm really glad that I went back and put something in the beginning of that one that was like, hey, just so you know, the sound quality's gotten better since we did this, because I was doing it on some busted ass Turtle Beaches with the microphone from that, and it wasn't super good quality, but it's gotten better as time has gone on. But what's interesting to me is the popularity between certain games. It's really interesting to look at. For instance, Serious Sam had 55 listens, right? As opposed to E7, which was part 1 and 2, which has 20 and 15 respectively. So it's wild that you can kind of tell which games people seek out to listen about more. And the analytics interest me.
Just had that thought of maybe people find multi-part JRPG episodes a little intimidating. Then I realized,
Oops.
Yeah.
You better start believing in multi-part JRPG episodes, Miss Turner. You're in one.
I didn't think about that. But you know what? Buckle up, motherfuckers, because it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one to me. So Persona 4, when we did Persona 4, it was 3 parts. It took a while. And episode 1 and episode 3 have more listens than episode 2. So I don't understand. There are some people who just listened to part 1 and then part 3 and just didn't listen to part 2. I don't know. It's just funny to me.
They got lost.
But as far as some of my favorite games that I did for the show, there's been a handful that I really that stick out to me. The first one being The Last Tinker, The City of Colors. Went into that not expecting much. It was just, it's just a game that I had in my list. I got it in a bundle. It maybe costs me 10 cents for that game for, whatever, the $2 or $3 for the whole bundle. And that turned out to be a really, really good game. It was like a little hidden gem of a platformer, and I really, really enjoyed it. And that's one of the episodes that hasn't gotten a ton of listens to it, and that's a shame, in my opinion, because I feel like more people need to know about that game, because those developers, Me Games, MIMI, really deserve to have more people check that out, especially since they just made that as like a, hey, let's see if we can make a video game type thing.
Yeah, the funny thing is I remember listening to that episode when I was going through the backlog and thinking, man, this game sounds awesome. Still haven't checked it out, so I'm garbage.
But it was a really fun energy you guys brought to that episode. Like, you guys were so pleasantly surprised that this game was actually, like, really cool and, like, had some interesting ideas to it.
Yeah, I feel like that game was the complete opposite of when we dove into Corpse Party Blood Drive. Because
that was a fun episode, too, though.
God, my whole issue with Blood Drive was I heard resoundingly good things about the first Corpse Party. Like, everyone said that game was fantastic. And then I didn't hear much about the second game. So when I saw Blood Drive, I was like, oh, I'll check that out. So, and then it came up for the show, and man, it's one of those games where you just have to run and hide a lot, but it was wonky and it just didn't work, and that game fucking sucked. God, that game fucking sucked. But I'm sure it's got its fans, as everything does. But.
Like Nate said, though, I mean, that was a fun episode too, because it was a completely different energy. There aren't a lot of episodes of the show where you found a game that you just absolutely had very little nice to say about. You guys I felt like you had fun messing with that game, like, decrying it.
Oh yeah, I had a blast, and that's the thing, is that Steamy so far, even up to this date, has been very nice, and it might be that like I haven't bought a ton of shit games, but I do know that I have gotten a lot of bundles in order to get the numbers of where the library is at to where it's at, and man, there are some ones that I'm real worried about when they come up. There are going to be some that like we might all three just play for 20-30 minutes and then be like, yeah, that's all you need.
I almost asked you to name some names, and then I realized, oh yeah, voting. Maybe we shouldn't give them ammunition. Yeah, very fair. They already want to torture me trying to get me Blair Witch, which is just going to scare the shit out of me. That's still such an interesting vote. So anyone who isn't in the Patreon yet, we have a vote for the next
Discord.
normal length episode.
Oh,
my bad, the Discord. I've been plugging the Discord every episode I'm on, and I said the wrong thing. But it's currently a tie vote between Yakuza 0 and Blair Witch. Like, there's like 8 votes each or something like that. Like,
yeah.
It's a stalemate, and those are such wildly different experiences.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that like one's just this narrative horror game, and this other one's just this wildly Japanese beat 'em up type game. And I mean, I would be happy with either of them. I do enjoy a good horror game that scares me. Which another episode that we did, Resident Evil 7. Whew, that game scared the shit out of me, and like I can't imagine. Eric from Factory Seal talking about playing that game in VR. No, thank you. Oh man,
so
I would shit my
folks.
pants.
You could be the one to make us decide which game that comes up to next. Just join the Discord.
Come join the Discord. Steam, was it the steammachinepodcast.wordpress.com has all the links. There's a link to the Discord. There's a link to the Twitch. There's also a link to the Patreon that Willie mentioned. There is links to my music. There's everything you need about the show. Everything that you could possibly want. You can even listen to the episodes of the show on the website. So check it out. steammachinepodcast.wordpress.com.
Housekeeping's done. Good episode.
Let's see. I'm going to name... So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 14 games that are rated mostly negative in my Steam library. Now, this is not all of my games. This is just on Steam. Farming World, Demon's Gate, Spiritual Warfare and Wisdom Tree Collection, Deus Ex The Fall, Disciples 3 Resurrection, Extinction, which I do not agree with. Extinction is really fun. I do not know why that's rated mostly negative. Jezebel, Better Late Than Dead, CTU Counterterrorism Unit, Mystical, Space Overlords, Drill Arena, Hostage Rescue Mission, and World Ship Simulator. World Ship Simulator is the worst game on my list according to Steam's ranking units.
Yeah, we looked into some of those games too, and there were different reasons why they were ranked so poorly. Like, some of them were just like sloppy mobile ports. Some of them were really promising titles. They just completely like shit the bed on release, and I don't know. There's a lot of weird experiences waiting for us, I think.
Yeah, for sure. There's like a World Ship Simulator. Like, most of the comments are just like, I mean, the game's not bad, but like every other game does it better. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to get to those. And if I play through Extinction for the show and play through it all, because I've only played, I don't know, 20 minutes of it or so, I might end up fucking hating it. You never know. But it might be one of those that I don't, that there's going to be instances where we don't agree with the majority of people, I assume.
Yeah,
in both cases.
Hopefully we'll come into instances where we don't agree with each other,
Oh, yeah, those are going to be fun. Oh, those episodes are going to be fun.
I'm
what?
looking forward to it.
You're fucking high!
And then you're like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, I am. So what? Want to fight about it? But yeah, man. Again, real quick, the most listened to episode that we've got for the entirety of the show is actually an episode that Ryan had to bail out. I don't remember why, but it was last minute, and I was struggling. I was like, oh fuck, oh god, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how I'm going to talk about Doki Doki Literature Club by myself. Like, I really wanted to talk to Ryan about his first experience with it, because it wasn't my first experience through it. You know what I mean? So I called my buddy Chris, who happened to be in town hanging out at his mom's house, and I said, hey buddy, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm not doing anything, man. You want to hang out? Absolutely. I said, I got some bud, and I need to play through a game for the show. You want to be on the podcast? And he gets real quiet. He goes, fuck yeah, I want to be on the podcast. And I said, all right. So I come and I picked him up. And it went from, fuck yeah, I want to be on the podcast, to, yeah, man, I'll be ready when you are. Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, yeah. No, I'm fine, man. I'm fine. We got this. No, I promise. I promise I'm fine. Man, I'm really nervous. I was like, Chris, it'll be all right, man. But, yeah, dude, I picked him up at like, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And we sat there and played through the entirety of Doki Doki Literature Club in one sitting. And I think we ended up, I haven't listened back to the episode in a while, but I want to say that I ended up saying that we were recording. It was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And it was really interesting to me to sit there with somebody who had never experienced that game. And when it started getting weird, I would just start looking over at Chris, and his facial expressions were just fantastic. And then just talking with him and getting his experiences with it and everything, like, he was super nervous, but I did get him to loosen up a little bit before we got on mic. And he's told me before, he's like, well, next time I won't be as nervous. And I'm like, that's the thing. You just got to get that first one out of the way, man, then you're fine. You know what I mean? It's getting over that initial, believe me. I had it with Serious Sam in the first one. Like, I had those nerves, and I'm sure, like, you guys, Nate, I think you said you were nervous about Hollow Knight.
Yeah,
at first.
That's definitely true. It's like, I've been streaming for a little bit at the point where we recorded that, but it was like a totally different experience to me, because, like, this is your brand, and I'm coming into it. Otherwise, like, on stream, I'm just doing myself. But at this point, I'm like, yeah, I'm comfortable here.
Yeah, I was lucky that my first episode was a game that I'm incapable of shutting the hell up about. So even though I was nervous, once I got opened up, it's like, nope, here comes 5 hours of Doom talk if you don't stop me.
Oh, yeah, man, you came in clutch with that. Like, that was a good recommendation on Nate's part where he was like, we should bring Willie in on this because he knows a lot about Doom. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. And it was a match made in heaven. What do you know?
Or in hell.
Or in hell. What's it Kevin Smith does? Man, minute, 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 man, minute, 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 man, minute, minute. But yeah, man. So, like, it just blows my mind that episode that I threw together with Chris because I was panicking is the most listened to episode of the entire show. But it goes back to what games people are looking for. You know what I mean? And Doki Doki is one of those, like we were talking about before we went live, Willie, and you can expand on this if you want, that it's a game that, like, it's fun to seek out what other people think about it.
Yeah, I listened to that one. It was one of the ones I skipped out of order just to listen to that one, just because that game is like such an experience that I like watched multiple playthroughs of it just to watch how people react to certain scenes in it, because it just takes people by surprise so much, even if you kind of think you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You know what's interesting to me too is that, okay, so have you played the game yourself or have you just watched people play it?
I played through it and then immediately watched a playthrough of it afterward because I was like, that was crazy.
Did you choose Yuri or Natsuki?
Yuri.
So, it got every fucking bot. Dude, I have not seen Natsuki's side of it once because I played through and got Yuri. The second time I played through, I picked Yuri. Chris played through, picked Yuri.
Well, let's see. Who do I want to play this game with? Could I hang out with like the really smart, elegant girl who's shy and nice to me, or the mean child?
Yeah, fair. Fair. And I feel like the game is almost leads you to Yuri. You know, like,
yeah, I agree.
Without really leading, that game is really good at leading you without leading you. Like inference and just little things that they say almost like make you go in that direction. It's a really cool concept. I hope to see that guy do more stuff eventually. I'm just looking through the episode. I enjoyed doing Fallout 4, except I fucked that one up completely. That's why it's still on the list, because that was in the beginning stages of my learning how to really mod a game, and I completely fucked my game.
Oh.
If I do have a recommendation other than the Last Tinker, City of Colors, for anybody, it would absolutely have to be the Talos Principle. Sorry, my mind blanked for a second. The Talos Principle is so fucking good. I cannot stress enough. Like, if you like puzzle games, if you're a fan, did you like Portal? Absolutely play the Talos Principle. There is a reason that, here, let me hop over to the Steam store real quick. And I know we talked about this on the episode too. There's a reason that this game got a 9 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, a 9.5 out of 10, a 5 out of 5, a 9 out of 10, and a 100 out of 100 from like all the major places. And the game won a ton of awards. It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam. It's just, the game is so fucking good, dude. I cannot stress that enough. But I'm also a big fan of puzzle games. If you do not like puzzle games, you're probably going to be like, this game fucking sucks. But, man, just talk about a game that makes you really think about your existence while playing a puzzle game. I don't know how to explain it, man. But it's really, really, really good. And I can't recommend it enough. I do believe we had 2 people write in. I have to go see if I can find where that was at. I know Kana did say that she was like, I'm tired because I just got off work, so I can't think of anything right now. But like, Dagoth Wave is an earworm that I now know of because of the show, and I listen to all the time. And I believe it was Jeff. Jeff said that he doesn't really have a favorite episode, but in general, it's good stuff to listen to. Keep it up. It's great stuff. So I do appreciate y'all writing in and giving me something to read.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is great stuff to listen to.
I like to think so. I try.
If I were to pick out a favorite episode personally, ones that I really enjoyed, other than Hollow Knight, of course,
Yeah.
were the Skyrim episodes, because, you know, just the passion that you have for that particular series of games is just exciting to listen to. And I thought Hyperpixie did a great job when she was guesting on there too. And also really enjoyed the Bug Snacks episode, because that was a game that I saw ads for, and y'all were just like, you know, let's just go for this new game right now. And it was really cool to see you guys play something that was like that fresh and relevant, and made me really interested in the game as well. So I thought that was pretty neat. And then, of course, listening to you talk about Wonder Boy, I could, like, how much you have a passion and love for that series from way back when. Just listening to that Wonder Boy episode was also really nice to hear.
Yeah, man. Wonder Boy's so fun. It's such a cool game, man. And Bug Snacks, Bug Snacks was one that I told Ryan, I said, we're playing this because I really want to fucking play this game. I was like, and this might bring in some new eyes and ears for people looking for an episode for Bug Snacks. And it's sitting at 69.
Nice.
And that game was really deeper than I thought it would be. Like, I was thinking it was just gonna be like this little cutesy like Pokemon type clone, and in a way it is, man. But the story of it, that game gets deep, dude.
Yeah, it sounded way cooler than it had any right to be.
It was absolutely way cooler than it had any right to be, and it left its ending open for another game. So I'm looking forward to if they do a sequel. Like, that would be pretty cool.
Similarly, if I had to go for an episode that I thought like really grabbed me, especially from the early ones, I really liked the Outer Worlds one, because it seemed like you guys, like, you both played the game differently, but you both had like a lot of enthusiasm for the actual narrative of the game. So it was almost like just hearing you guys storytelling from this world. And I'd never played the game before, but I had a pretty vivid image of what was going on just hearing you guys talk about the decisions you made, the kind of path your character took, and the kind of person that they became, you know?
Yeah, and that's one reason I like the game experiences where it's like the Outer Worlds or Skyrim, Fallout 4, those, because it is completely possible for the people like me and Ryan, or like me and you guys, to play completely differently. You know, like, especially there's going to be some of the older RPG games that come up, and you know, you can play through the whole game without killing anybody if you want to, or you can go through guns blazing, Duke Nukem Kill 'Em All style, you know, or you can do a mixture of the both. You know, you want to be a thief? Do you want to go steal a bunch of stuff? Do you want to be a fucking warrior? Do you want to be a mage? There's so many different choices that you can make that will build a narrative, and it's going to be interesting to have more of those episodes come up and us be able to just hash out how we did it, like, because that's one of the reasons I really enjoy role-playing games, is because you can kind of put yourself into the main character. And I guess more specifically Western RPGs I'm talking about, because usually JRPGs, you have a character and you get to know that character and you fall in love with that character, but the character is not you per se. Whereas more so in Western RPGs, like, you create your character, you are that character, you know, you can kind of put yourself into it. So that's why, like, when I played Skyrim, it was like, yeah, I did main story quests and stuff like that, but I was a fucking relic hunter. I wanted to fill my museum up. That was my main goal. Whereas Ryan wanted to slay all the dragons he could and make dragon bone armor and all that kind of stuff. So, like, he had his own goals. And then the same thing with Fallout. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for, you know, if you guys would continue to grace me with your presence, of course, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to do that. And I'm very interested to see how it will branch out, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah. Games where you, like, there is a main plot, but you're kind of setting your own goals. Like, I do love that stuff, because, I don't know, like, Skyrim is very much the kind of game where it's like, I know I'm supposed to be doing stuff, but, you know, I'd really rather just play hide and seek with the kids and go find a bunch of butterfly wings and just be a complete dipshit and not do anything important, even though I'm the only one that can save the world. Like, it's fun to just make your own goals in a game, and I kind of like that sandboxy approach when it feels fulfilling, like when the game actually pulls it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, I'm looking forward to, like, Oblivion,
Yeah.
Morrowind, even Daggerfall. Like,
man,
That'll be wild, man. Cause okay, I'll go ahead and say, when Daggerfall comes up, I'm gonna make us play the Unity version because that one's just updated and more user friendly. It's not nearly as frustrating as the original Daggerfall could be because the original Daggerfall had very old school controls. In fact, I believe the first Daggerfall, it was all on the keyboard. There was no mouse, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but Unity Daggerfall kind of brings it into a new game engine. It brings it into Unity really and just makes it run smoother. And there's a couple mods that'll like put more townspeople in, so the game's not nearly as barren. Yada yada yada. It should be fun. But then like other narrative games, Kingdoms of Amalur. That's gonna be a fucking great game when it comes up on the show eventually. Do you guys know anything about Kingdoms of Amalur?
Nope.
Not at all.
So I don't want to get this wrong, so let me go to the wiki real quick, and then after we talk about this, we can wrap this up and then dive into some Dragon Quest. But wiki. This is where Truncate Silence comes in.
Well, you have to stop talking for Truncate Silence to work.
Fair enough. Yeah, there we go. So the Ken Ralston, the lead designer on Morrowind and Oblivion, was the game's exclusive designer. And then the R.A. Salvatore created the game universe and lore, and Todd McFarlane did the artwork.
Todd McFarlane, huh?
Yeah, so like the dude who made two of my favorite RPGs ever, R.A. Salvatore, and then Todd McFarlane, both of them, along with, like I said, Ken Ralston. Like, that's a fucking major crew there. But this game did not do as well as it should have.
Oh, hey, I've pulled up the Wikipedia page for this too, and it looks like Grant Kirkhope did the composition too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a big Rareware composer.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country and all those games. It's awesome.
Oh, man, dude, Donkey Kong Country's got such good music.
You're telling me, man. Some of my favorite
So
soundtracks
good.
in all of video games, period.
There's a SNES Drunk. Shout out to SNES Drunk. There's a video that he has that's like 3 hours of relaxing SNES music, and I'll put it on to go to sleep sometimes, and there's a Donkey Kong Country song pretty early on in that playlist that is just so good, dude. It's like the jungle song, or I think it's just very soothing. It doesn't sound like it should be in a Donkey Kong game. It sounds like it should be on a Dark Wave album or something. And I love it.
I think it was like a Hard Drive or one of those similar magazine article or fake headline like joke pages or whatever, where the headline was just "Man tasked to write song about monkey riding a fish accidentally creates piece of transcendent art." And that's a little picture of DK riding the swordfish.
That's awesome. I love it. But yeah, man. So again, I'm happy everyone has stuck around for the whole year. It means a lot. I hella appreciate you guys for coming in and filling in where I needed some stuff to be filled. Usually the butthole, but we'll talk about that later.
Promises.
I will say one last thing. One episode that did way better than I thought it would was West of Loathing.
That was recent, too.
Yeah, it was last month, and it's gotten higher than I thought it would. It's not closing in on Doki Doki at all, but still, it's way higher than I thought for just a little 30-minute episode that I'm pretty sure I did West of Loathing by myself.
You did.
I'm pretty sure that was a solo one, man.
Yeah.
You're just over there happily talking about cows and stuff, and it was fun to listen to.
God, that game's so fun, dude. It's so ridiculous. And I love the art style. Absolutely love the art style. And, you know what? We can go ahead and say that, too, because once we start talking about Dragon Quest, there's a good chance I'm going to forget. Speaking of art styles, so, the short poll ended for the next short game. And it had come down to a tie between Dragon, a game about a dragon, and Leisure Suit Larry 2, and I broke the tie, and I chose Dragon, a game about a dragon. And the reason I did is strictly because of the art style in that game.
It's so cool to look at, yo.
Hopefully people
I
don't
can't
get
wait to try it out.
Hopefully people don't get confused when they start looking through your backlog. Dragon Quest XI Part 1. Dragon, a game about a dragon. Dragon Quest XI Part 2.
Yeah, man, it's Dragon Month.
It's dragons all the way down.
We'll move from Dragon Quest to Dragon Age, and just keep the flow going. Yeah. But yeah, the art style, it looks like it's drawn with crayons.
Yeah, I looked that up. It looked really neat. It really does.
So
Hand drawn, cool stuff.
I'm very interested in checking that out because I do appreciate a game with a really cool art style. Hollow Knight being one of them, Cuphead being another, and Wonder Boy, the remake of Wonder Boy, which just that hand drawn look to it just looks fantastic. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. That'll be next week. While we slowly keep chipping away at the game of the week. Maybe I'll throw some reverb on that, make it sound cool. Dragon Quest XI. Now, if you've been listening for this long, or if you've skipped through all the bullshit in the beginning, hi, welcome to the episode. So, Dragon Quest XI. This is not my first time playing through it, but I have not played through it in at least a year, and I've never beaten it. Now, from what I've been told, Willie, this was your first time through it, correct?
Yes, this is my first time playing Dragon Quest XI or Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition, which, yes, I just looked that up to make sure I said all those words right. I'm not that big of a nerd, sorry.
That is a fucking mouthful, isn't it?
That's a chunky salad right there, man.
Very. And then, Nate, this is one of your... Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead. Tell us. Go ahead. Start gushing.
Yeah, this game's incredible. It's one of my favorite games of all time, period, at this point. And yeah, this was actually, honestly, only my second playthrough of it, and I'm enjoying it just as much the second time, if not more. So, hey.
Yeah, man. And that was why I knew, like, when it came up, I was like, well, I know Nate's at least keyed in for sure, because I know he fucking loves Dragon Quest, man. You know, if you go and check out Nate on Twitch, you can redeem some channel points and see him hug a slime. You know, the motherfucker loves Dragon Quest, for sure. So it's been a few months since I played the beginning of this game, because I did start from my save that I already had, so I did not have to go through the beginning game stuff again. But in retrospect, I should have, because I don't really remember what happened. So I'm going to lean on you guys for the first little bit, but I would like to get Willie's opinion here at first. Like, what were your first impressions going in, and have they changed since then? You know, like what was the dynamic that you got from it? If that.
Okay. So to start off with, the very first thing you notice about Dragon Quest XI is this art style. It's very vibrant colors. The characters are all like cel shaded with his like texturing on it, and the character art, including the monster art, is all done by Akira Toriyama, the guy most famous for the Dragon Ball Z series. But it's this fantasy world. It's extreme, like it's so bright and colorful and cool looking. And the thing that made me most happy about entering that world was I have fond memories of Dragon Quest VIII, which was a game I had for the PlayStation 2, that I never got to finish because the game actually got destroyed in a move. So I never got to finish, even though I was at least halfway through. I was past the part that you would know what I would mean if you... Yeah. But it's so I got to be back in that kind of universe again, and then you get into it, and the game is happily throwing all these little throwbacks to the Dragon Quest series. Like, it's a game that's lovingly built on the roots. And even though there's some of the games that I've never played, some that were never even released in America, or not until they were remade for DS, like, the references I'm picking up on, like, as I'm playing, because I played, 1, 2, 3, and parts of 7 and 8, it's like, every bit of it is just, like, designed to just bring a smile to your face. And even if it's your first time in the series, there's just something so like charming and immediately accessible about the world that it's easy to get sucked right into it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like when you first load it up and you start going in, man, my first thought was, damn, this game is cool. Like, as far as That's not the right word. Pretty. Damn, this game is pretty. Like, why did I say cool? What the fuck is wrong?
Pretty cool.
Oh, this game's cool. Yeah. I'm gonna go drink a Monster, punch a hole in a wall. The game is really pretty. The colors, like you said, vibrance. They fucking pop off the screen, dude. Like, it is immediately very eye-catching. Like, if somebody were walking by, they probably couldn't help but look over at the screen to see what it is, because it really is. It just jumps off at you. The contrast of them are very good.
Yeah, it's like this fetching cross between like the anime art style of Akira Toriyama with this like storybook cartoon brightness that just really looks cool together.
Sorry, I was reading something and I was expecting like Nate to chime in or something. So I was like,
I just got really quiet there for a second.
I thought I got disconnected.
Yeah, no, I was reading something. So now that we've kind of touched on, because I wanted to see like what your first impression of it was. We have the obligatory Wikipedia bullshit, and that would be that Dragon Quest XI Echoes of Elusive Age is a role-playing video game developed and published by Square Enix, an entry in the long-running Dragon Quest video game series. It was released for Japan for the Nintendo 3DS and PlayStation 4 in 2017, and then worldwide for PlayStation 4 and Microsoft Windows in September of 2018. In an enhanced version, Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of Elusive Age Definitive Edition was released for the Nintendo Switch in September of 2009, for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One in December of 2020, and for Stadia for who fucking cares. One of the first games announced for the Switch, the game was originally conceived to be fully open world, but the idea was discarded when it conflicted with the story the developers wanted to tell. To increase the awareness of the Dragon Quest franchise in the West, support for Microsoft Windows and features such as voiced English dialogue and 4K resolution were included. Elements added later included an expanded plot and an option to listen to the orchestral version of the sound of the score.
Which is fantastic.
Is so good. While many critics consider Dragon Quest XI to be the best in the series, as well as one of the best contemporary JRPGs overall, some have formed a view that the game was overly traditional and non-innovative. The game shipped over 6 million copies by September 2020. The game's protagonist, the Luminary, has also been featured in crossover media such as Super Smash Bros. Series. Now, there's a few things in this one fucking paragraph I just read that I would like to touch on. But there's one I think that we're going to rant a little more about than the other. So let's start with, it is amazing to me that this came out on the 3DS.
No joke, dude.
Oh, wow,
like,
yeah.
No kidding. How?
Like, I know that the characters were more chibi-like, I think, but even still, like, good lord, there's a lot of game.
There's a ton of game, and like, unfortunately, like, I have only played the definitive edition version of the game. Well, I'm not going to say unfortunately, because that's what you want to play. But it's like, I don't know what was added and what's new to this version and what's not for the most part. So I'm curious how much is new versus how much was in the DS version to begin with, because this is a big chonker of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I have the original Dragon Quest XI on PlayStation 4, and I got further in the Switch version than I did in the PlayStation 4 version. I can tell you that in the PlayStation 4 version, or the non-definitive edition, you could only use the Forge at campfires.
Mm.
You did not get a horse hailer. That you had to use the bells. You did not have Nose for Treasure that I remember. You had to go find that shit on your own. Tickington or Tockington, Tickington, right?
Tickington, yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's so many tick-tock, tickles, and
I get it.
tonkles. Yeah. Tickington was not included, but those things were. And let me tell you, playing through Dragon Quest and not being able to figure out what those little things were on PS4, because they were there, but you couldn't talk to them. They were just the ones that would disappear when you got too close.
Yeah.
And it was never, I mean, honestly, like I said, I never beat the game on PS4, but to the point that I got to, it never was explained. And I was like, what the fuck are they?
I think to that point, they would have been explained-ish towards the, like, third ending of the game or whatever, but until that point I think you'd be really kind of lost with what those guys are supposed to be. But I think it's probably part of the mystery of it. But with that being said, I think having them as interactable characters earlier in the game makes it more relatable.
I found it absolutely shocking that Tickington wasn't in the original game, because I'm only 25 hours in. That would be like one of the main selling points of the game to me right now. Like, if I wanted to tell somebody like an elevator pitch for the game that was a little familiar with the Dragon Quest series, I would point them in that direction. And I almost don't want to talk about it yet because I don't know where we're in spoiler territory, but it does some neat stuff. It's an entirely cool quest.
Yeah, for sure. We'll touch on it in a second. We'll throw up the spoiler warning for anybody. But I mean, I feel like if people are listening to this, they're probably expecting spoilers. But we'll throw up a spoiler warning before we start getting into the actual meat and potatoes of it.
I think that spoiler is a weird word for Dragon Quest too, because the series is kind of an all-ages series, and it leans heavy on the foreshadowing and the storybook tropes, at least for the start of the game. So, like, nothing we're going to cover here is not something you would not have figured out from playing the game for 5 hours, or is like a mild surprise at best.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of moderately spoilers be just plot points and etc., which we will touch on a little bit, but I think we should veil all that in a section to itself as well.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing in this so I appreciate the English dialogue and the 4K, all of that. Like, I appreciate that. But like, what bothered me about this was a lot of critics consider it to be the best in the series. It's one of the best contemporary JRPGs overall. I completely agree there. If I were to give you my top 2 JRPGs right now, they would be Dragon Quest 11. Yep, there you go. Exactly. Persona 5, Dragon Quest 11. They are the top tier. Absolutely. 100%. And Ys 8 might be up there too once I beat that, because that game is really good. But the fact that some have formed a view that the game was overly traditional and non-innovative.
Eat my shorts.
I have a huge fucking problem with that, because what was the reaction to Final Fantasy when they changed shit up to be new?
Right.
Everyone flipped the fuck out and said, I want my fucking shit to be turn-based. I don't know why I made it British, but I want
voice actors are contagious.
Yeah, for sure. I want it to be turn-based. I want it to, don't change what's good. And then 15 came out, and they're like, "Oh my God, you made it Kingdom Hearts." Which, and Grim, if you're listening, I'm not hating on you. I'm just using what you told me as an example. Like, you turned it into Kingdom Hearts. But then on the same hand, Dragon Quest comes out, releases a fantastic fucking game that did not change anything and kept it to the same as ever. And then people are going to bitch about that too.
It's almost like people just like to complain.
It's almost like people just bitch to bitch.
And Dragon Quest is a series that's really, I mean, you can pick it up at any point, but it's really rooted in nostalgia. It's like the most popular game series in Japan, and like the people that grew up playing the Nintendo games are now like our age, because we're people that grew up playing Nintendo games. And this is like a comfy, warm blanket to them. This is exactly the game they wanted. A game that like is a beautiful world that does stuff that they could never do on the old systems, but it's like the logical extension of that. And I don't know, man, I can't see a fault with like making the best version of Dragon Quest instead of trying to make a completely new system and calling it Dragon Quest.
No, like absolutely. Like it's like you said, we're the kind of kids that grew up. We played Dragon Quest. We played Final Fantasy 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all those kind of games. Unfortunately, we missed Dragon Quest because they weren't released in America, but we won't go there. And just putting this game in and playing it, it brought me back so much to that place of just those old school RPGs that turn-based, fun, make strategies based on that. And I don't know, man. It just brought me back to that place and made me so happy every time I played it.
Even the littlest things, like when you transition between stages. Like, I mean, like when you go through like a place where there's a little load screen. Like, it plays the little going up a stair sound from Dragon Quest 1. And like, that's the kind of game this is.
Yeah, I really appreciate that they kept some of those sounds in. Like going up the stairs, opening doors. Like, it's that same... And even the little jingle has been the same forever.
Mm-hmm.
Level.
Yeah, and
like, it's there.
That closes out the JRPG report every week. James always ends his episodes with "Get out there and level up." And every time it just makes me smile because I'm like, "Fuck, man, Dragon Quest is so good." It's like you guys said. It's a comfort. Like turn-based RPGs for me. My first big experience with it, I touched on this, in earlier episodes for the show, was Final Fantasy VIII. My brother gave me that and was like, here, man, I think you'd enjoy this game. And I held that game near to me because my brother gave it to me. You know what I mean? And I thought that was really cool. Like, he liked this game enough to give it to his little brother and be like, yo, fucking play this. And that really started my love for Final Fantasy, which started my love for turn-based. And then, you move from that to Pokemon. And while Pokemon's a little different, it's still a turn-based battle system. Yeah. And to go from that to start playing, Star Ocean and things like that, Chrono Trigger, because my early gaming was I went from an NES and Sega Master System to a PlayStation 1, so I missed the Super Nintendo completely. So as I got older and was starting to be able to, I had a computer that could emulate that stuff without shitting itself, I could dive into these older games and play them, and that's when I first played like Seiken Densetsu 3, which was released over here as Trials of Mana. Recently, like that game did not come over here for a long time, and that's when I started checking out the older Final Fantasies. Well, then I always saw this fucking slime for Dragon Quest, and I'm like, man, what the fuck is that? So I searched Dragon Quest, and I'm like, oh, okay, they never came out over here, so what's the big deal about Dragon Quest 8? And then I looked and saw, oh, they did come out over here as Dragon Warrior. So that was a weird thing with that, because back in the day there was, I don't even know why. There was a lot of weird naming conventions with changing shit between Japan and America.
Just a word they thought would sell better in the U.S., my man.
Yeah, I guess Warrior instead of Quest. I guess. I mean, that makes sense.
At least they didn't do what Final Fantasy did with the numbers, though. Because 5 and 6 didn't come out in the U.S., but when they put out Dragon Quest 7 here for the PlayStation 1, they did release it as Dragon Warrior 1, or Dragon Warrior 7. They didn't call it 5 and confuse everyone.
Yeah, and
then 8, they actually came out as Dragon Quest, and they finally reunited the titles, and peace was brought to the kingdom, man.
Yeah, see, I never played 8 until I had a 3DS. And then I was looking up what are the best RPGs that you can play on the 3DS. And one of them was Dragon Quest 8. In fact, I think it was the number 1 on that list. They were like, play Dragon Quest. So I bought that. Again, I have a really bad problem with not beating games, so I never beat it. But I enjoyed the shit out of what I played of it. And when Dragon Quest 11, and I started seeing stuff about that, I was sold all in 100%. It was a turn-based game, and it had me at turn-based. So
another point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I dove in and did not regret a bit of it. That was all.
Yeah, so speaking of like origins of how we got into this particular game in the series, because it'd been a long time since I'd played a Dragon Quest game. Because I remember I loved Dragon Quest 1 on the NES, and then I played a little bit of 2 and thought it was horrible. Side note, I played it again last year. It is horrible. And then I kind of dinked around in 3 a little bit, but never really got very far in it when I was a kid. And that was my last experience with Dragon Quest until Dragon Quest 11. And you know what the funny thing is that made me realize that Dragon Quest 11 was out and looked really cool was, as I think stated, the Smash Brothers character release when they put the Luminary in Smash Brothers. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a new Dragon Quest game. I'm going to play this. Even though it had been since the NES that I had been a part of the series.
Wow. I did not know that.
You never played the Dragon Warrior 7 we had for PlayStation. That's right. I think I was the only one with Val on that.
Yeah.
And this is definitely...
we were living in different places by the time 8 had come out, because I took that one to college.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a series that I would like to dive in and play some of the older games. Like on my 3DS, I have it soft modded, so I've got Dragon Quest 7 on there. And I've thought about trying to check out 9, but I think that there's something weird with 9 that I don't know if you can... I don't know. Is that 9 came out over here, didn't it? It's 10 that didn't.
10 was the weird Wii MMO only in Japan.
Okay, yeah. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, we're talking Dragon Quest. There was just a fucking anniversary. Was it 30 or 35 years?
Oh god.
Do you remember?
30.
I think it was the
It came out in like
80,
80, like 80, early 80, like mid 80s, so it would have to be the 30.
Yeah, 35 sounds right. I'll look it up.
I think it was 35 years. There's been some cool announcements, man. But
Yep, 35.
One of the things that I got from it was that Dragon Quest 12 might have a different combat style.
Oh, I didn't notice that part of it. I hope that's not true.
and I don't know if they're gonna make it more actiony or if they're just gonna kind of try to change the cameras. Because in 11, there's this interesting thing where you can, and I play with the classic camera personally. I don't use the new camera, but the new camera, like, you can freely run around the battle. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you can run around and get pictures or whatever you want to do. So maybe they're going to be changing some more stuff like that. I don't know. I hope they don't mess with it too much.
I really hope it remains turn-based, because that is one of the huge selling points for me.
Absolutely. And you, being the influencer that you are, have been playing Dragon Quest 3 or Dragon Warrior 3. Dragon Quest? Yeah, either one.
Yeah, it's called Warrior because it's NES, but yeah, it's Dragon Quest 3 for sure.
Yeah. On Twitch, and then all of a sudden they announced that they're doing an HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest 3.
Yeah, which is awesome. I'm excited for that too.
Oh man, bro, because
it looks so cool.
Octopath Traveler is phenomenal, and I thought it looked really good. And that new Project Triangle Strategy, whatever the fuck they named it that they're working on, looks really good too. So when I saw the little screen clips for Dragon Quest 3 in that style, I was like, oh man, yeah, that's how I'm going to play 3.
Yeah. Oh, it's a sidebar too, because you said Octopath is really fantastic. Is that also turn-based?
Yes.
I'm going to have to try that out when it goes on sale on Steam next, because I do love the art style of that game. I just haven't tried it out, you know?
Yeah, the complaints that people have about it are that, like, you have a party of characters, but their stories don't necessarily intertwine with one another. It's kind of like each person has their own story playing out, but they're traveling together.
Okay.
But sometimes it's not treated like they're traveling together, and that can get a little odd at times. But like it wasn't enough to turn me off of the game, because like I really enjoyed the battle system, and that's, like, you know, again, a main drawing point. When I'm in a bad mood or I'm depressed or something, like, I know I can go to a turn-based game and it will perk me up.
Yeah, because honestly, to me, in a turn-based RPG, like, off-stream, I'll grind levels on Dragon Quest 3 just because there's something so cathartic and soothing about it to me, just grinding levels in a turn-based game. It's interesting.
Yeah, the other night I think it was the last night or the night before, I spent, like, I don't know, 4 hours on Slime Island just grinding in 11. It's great. Yeah, so let's actually let's jump into the game a little bit. So again, it's been a while since I played the beginning, so I'm going to kind of lean on you guys here if you want to discuss the beginning. Like, and you don't have to go through it like a walkthrough. Like, you know, we don't have to treat it like a walkthrough or anything. But if you want to give me your opinions on the beginning, like maybe some story bits. This is the first spoiler warning for anyone who doesn't want spoilers for Dragon Quest XI. I don't know why you're listening, but spoilers.
So, like, the very beginning of the game, I can't remember if there was a cutscene before that or not, but basically, go ahead.
There's a cutscene where you see an important-looking family, and all of a sudden there's a woman with a small child and a baby on the run from some kind of monsters in a rainstorm. And then you see that the child gets picked up by an old man in a little village, and then it kind of goes like so many years later, and that's where it picks you up in gameplay.
That's right, yeah. And so basically, when you first start out, you find out, you know, obviously you're that little baby that was in the rainstorm, and it's basically your coming-of-age ceremony at the beginning of the game, where you and this girl, Gemma, your job is to basically go to the top of the mountain in town called Cobblestone Tor. Your town is called Cobblestone, and basically have a prayer ceremony up there.
Yeah, that's right. You have to go up the mountain, and that's where. Now, do they start you off with a one-handed sword or a two-handed sword? I don't remember.
One-handed.
One-hander.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you
I think it starts you with both in your inventory.
Both are in your inventory, but you come equipped with the single-handed sword.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's basically just your introduction. I believe that Gemma keeps you healed up.
Yep, and you also have your dog companion Sandy with you.
Yeah, the doggo, which I believe you can give pets.
You can pet the dogs in this game. Absolutely, that's another huge selling point. You can pet the dogs and cats.
And shout out to the Twitter page, Can You Pet the Dog? Because anytime a new game comes out that has a dog in it, they tweet whether you can or cannot pet the dog in it. And
genuinely, that was the first place I heard about Hades.
That's awesome.
Wicked. Oh man. Okay. Sidebar. Before I forget, I meant to bring this up before we started, but I'm gonna bring it up now. If you go on Reddit and go to r/potato salad, you will see a bunch of people talking about how delicious this potato salad looks and all of that, but there will be pictures of John Cena. Now, if you then go to r/John Cena, people are posting pictures and talking about like John Cena's matches and how good he is and things like that, but they are pictures of potato salad. And I do not know who started this or why, but I would like to thank the internet for being the internet because I got a seriously good laugh out of that yesterday.
That's awesome.
Super random, I know, but it tweaked in my head, and I needed to bring that up. It's just ridiculous. So I believe, is this the first time that you're when right there in the beginning is when your hand does its thing for the first time at the very top?
Yeah, so once you get to the top of the mountain, there's like it's all cloudy and rainy, and you save this little boy from these two smogs because he was up there trying to play a prank on Gemma, and you end up having to destroy these two smogs from destroying the child, essentially. You send him back, and you guys continue up the rest of the mountain, and once you get there, you're kind of disappointed there's no view, and then you get attacked by this, it only looks like a later monster in the game, like a war griffin or something like that, and then... Yeah. It basically comes to where it knocks Gemma falling off the cliff, and all Turtle, that's what I named my hero, sorry. Your main character, the hero, has to run and save her. And while he has her grabbed with his one hand, trying to pull her back up from the cliff, the War Griffin kind of swoops in on him, and his hand lights up and basically zaps the monster from the sky. So that is how you first find out, that you have some kind of special powers.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And then from there, you guys, does it jump you back down the mountain, or do you have to run back down? I can't remember.
It does jump you down after it shows you the prayer ceremony and tells you, this was the rite of passage for him. And it's weird that the monsters were there, which is, just kind of foreshadowing that things aren't going to be as good as they should be moving forward.
Yeah. Now, is this the point where you have to go find the tri-stone?
No, that's a bit further on. So
a bit further on. Okay. Yeah.
When you get back down, your adoptive grandfather basically tells you, your mother wanted me to give you this on your coming of age, and here is kind of your legacy. Here is your actual secret. And it turns out you are the reincarnation of a hero from legend called the Luminary. And you have that special mark on your hand to prove it, and a piece of jewelry he gives you as well to prove that your birth is from somewhere else. And he tells you to go on and see the king and tell him, yo, the Luminary's back. Things are going to get better around here.
Right. And so from that point, you leave town, get a horse and all that stuff, and you start to head to Heliodor, which is basically the capital, the big dog in the world of Erdrea, which is the name of the world you're in. And so you start heading towards Heliodor.
Yeah, and Heliodor is where shit starts going mental there. I mean, not right at first. Like, when you get there, that's kind of your first introduction to side quests there, too, I believe, if I remember right. Like, helping the kid get the little kitty off the roof.
Yeah, there's that one, and there's one where you keep hearing about these two big knights, Jasper and Hendrik. And there's supposed to be a book in town about it, and this guy's a scholar and wants you to find that book for him. And so you do those two side quests. And Hendrik and Jasper, they definitely want you to learn about them early in the game, because they definitely, throughout the course of the game, provide a pretty big role.
Yeah, for sure.
Major players of the army of Heliodor. One of them is like the greatest fighting knight, and the other one is like the brains of the operation.
Yep.
And that's also the introduction into checking for books.
Yeah,
which
SideQuest does such a great job with that. You run around all the towns looking on bookshelves, and man, we're going to kind of pop from point to point with this one, because a lot of the bookshelves are like the only places you can find basically crafting recipes. So there's a crafting mechanic in the game called the Fun Size Forge. You carry it with you wherever you go. And, I'm usually not huge on crafting mechanics in video games, but there's just something about the way the fun size forge is executed that really makes it satisfying.
Yeah, I think it's a fun little mini game. You know, it's basically it can be, I think, 1 to 8 spots that you have to whack with a hammer, and you have to try to get it into the sweet spot. And there's a real sweet spot that gives you almost like the critical, and will make your bar gold instead of blue. And you're just trying to get them all into the little blue zone without going over the one little area. And you have a certain amount of temperature that you have to deal with, but then you also get moves where, like, you can hit it twice as hard, you can hit it half as hard, you can hit 2 squares at once, you can hit 4 squares at once. You know, there's different mechanics to it that you get along the way, and it's just kind of learning to not, I guess I want to say min max, but I guess that's not really what I'm trying to get at, but that's also exactly what I'm trying to get at. You're trying to do as best as possible with as little as possible.
Yeah, just optimization. Like, because the forge gets cooler as you hit it, so that also means each of your hits does less moving the little bar over, but that also means you have a little bit more precision to it too. So you can try to get to the exact like target, and then have your guy appraise it. And if you the purpose of the little bars is just if you get really accurate, if you have really good rolls, or you just plan it out really well, the item you forge on the forge, that's using a noun and a verb, it's the same word in one sentence, that's great, come out as like +1, +2, or +3, so your hat will give you additional defense, or your attacks will be stronger with your knife, things like that.
Yeah, the +1, +2, +3, man, I always shoot for that +3, always.
I'm comfortable on a +1.
Fair. Yeah. I just, it bothers me if they're not +3.
It gets harder though, because like the materials start doing wonky things, like the higher, because there's like a classification of how hard the item is to craft. So like there's like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, I think is the highest. I might be wrong there. It's been a while since I've been that far. But like it starts throwing you curves and swerves when you get around the 2 star level. Yeah. And so you actually
it does.
You get better at crafting as your character levels up as well. So it's just a matter of time before it's easier to craft those things. But like if you're like at level 15 trying to craft a level 2 item, like a 2 star item in the forge, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, it ain't gonna go well for you at all. No, not at all.
But the combination of the mini game and then finding recipes in town and then finding ingredients while you're out on the field, like it gives it this whole, like, I don't know, a lot of times crafting in video games just feels like you're bringing up a box and putting things together in the middle of nowhere, and it gives it kind of a diegetic or in-universe explanation for why you're crafting that I think is I don't know, I just think that adds a lot of flavor to it that makes it a little bit more interesting than just going to the shop and buying a better sword.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to me to craft. Like, sometimes I'll forget to even go to shops just because I would rather wait until I find the recipe book and make the armor or the item myself.
Plus, then you can get that plus bonus.
I think you can get the plus bonus on things you buy as well if you reforge it. So if you use your Perfectionist pearls, you can reforge items that you already have.
Oh, do you get... There's a little check mark that shows up by them when you've crafted one. Do you get that if you reforge one, or do you have to make it from scratch? I think you have to make it from
scratch for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
but also, if you can't find ingredients, it does have a little option in there where you can pay like store price for any ingredients you couldn't locate or that you were running low on. So, I don't know. It seems like a nice feature to, if you're like 90% of the way there, but you have no idea where to find a blue eye or whatever, then you can just kind of purchase one and then make the thing.
And I think that was added in Definitive Edition.
That makes sense.
I'm not 100% sure.
What you've told me earlier when you're talking about the horse hailer and the nose for treasure and all that is, it seems like a lot of the S features are like QOL things, quality of life stuff, where it's specifically to make it to where it's just less of a pain in the butt to go back to specific place before you do the thing you wanted to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. From there, I believe that's when you make your way to talk to the king, and that's kind of when shit just goes haywire. He doesn't call you the Luminary, he calls you a Darkspawn, and that you're fucking evil, and he throws your ass in jail.
Yeah, so he has Hendrik grab you and throw you in jail, and he sends Jasper out to Cobblestone to do some investigation.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, and so continuing from there, once you're in the jail, you start making a racket down there because you're like, I shouldn't be down here. So you start breaking the pots and stuff in your cell, and you hear a voice from the other cell saying, "Hey, quiet it down in there," and all that kind of stuff. So eventually, you just go to the door, and this guy starts talking to you. He's like, "Oh, you must have done something pretty bad. They only put real bad guys down here." And you tell him that you're the Luminary, and he's like, "Wait, what? You're the Luminary?" And so eventually he helps you break out of the prison, and that's when you get your first member of your party.
Yeah, which is Eric. You
Yeah,
come
as
to
it
find
turns
out.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say you come to find out his name's Eric, and then he's the one dude from Brooklyn in a sea of people who are British.
I love his accent because I really can't tell. It sounds a little bit like a British guy trying to do a New York voice to me.
Yeah,
I tried to get some info on the actor, but I couldn't find much info.
I do love Eric. Like he's a cool ass character.
Yeah, he's in jail for the most obvious reason someone goes to jail. He's a thief, and he stole a royal treasure at one point. So they did not like that very much, and they chucked him in the darkest dungeon. But he's just so fun because now you got a thief, you got a guy who he's got that little bit of attitude. Now the player character, the Luminary, we probably should have mentioned this, is one of those Link style silent protagonists. He has a voice actor, and the character talks off screen sort of, but none of his lines are written out. None of those lines are voiced. Like it'll just say the Luminary explains what happened in that scene or whatever. Yeah. Now you got Eric. Eric is now your voice. He's a fully voice-acted character who can actually talk to people, and he kind of becomes your road into the dialogue of the game.
Yeah, because most of the stuff that you hear from your character is just like, "Hey, yeah, get him," and like weird things like that. It's never actual dialogue. Yeah.
The most I've really noticed him talking is just when he goes like, "Ha ha!" when someone kills someone in one of the overworld battles.
And man, I'm still kind of foggy at that point.
I can keep going until we get to where you're caught up, Dalton.
Yes, please, thank you.
So basically, you found out that Eric had been planning his escape for quite a while, but somebody named, I think he called the Sage, would told him that he should be helping the Luminary in any way possible. And he was like, it's funny how the day I finish digging this hole is the day the Luminary shows up in the prison. So basically, you make your way down this hole and into like basically the sewer system of the castle. You have guards that see you and start chasing you. Eventually you give them the slip and end up in like the deepest, darkest part of the dungeon, and then for some reason there's a dragon down there that you have to run away from and continue running, and eventually you get to this end where you get away from him, and then guess what, you're on a cliff and the guards start chasing after you, and they're like, hold on, don't do anything stupid. And so of course you and Eric do something stupid. You just jump off the cliff and down the waterfall. Yeah,
totally safe, right? Yeah, totally safe. Now, one thing,
and then it goes to the title screen.
Yep. Then you get the intro.
Yeah, that was the prologue. That whole thing. One thing that I'm curious about is why is it always that the hold on one second. Come here. You better bring that back. Mom's coming in here for a bud. You figured I'd be done by now. It was a long game. And it was the 1 year anniversary. I'm going to leave all of this in, too. I want you to know. She said hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show.
You're welcome.
Our special guest.
Where was I? Oh, why is it that games... It seems like stealth... They always put little stealth bits in where they're like... To me, it's unneeded. Like, in this, it made a little more sense because you're running from guards. And you're trying to get around them. But it just reminds me that there are certain games where they just throw stealth sections at you for no fucking reason.
Yeah, it was a little unnecessary, but it wasn't, like, exceedingly difficult or anything. And if you did get caught, you just had a little battle to battle out of. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, and that
was a very bad short stealth section, but a very short one.
And to me, like, I appreciate that they just threw you into a battle and then left you where you were at, instead of some games where they're like, oh, you got caught. Go back to the fucking beginning and try again.
Ocarina of Time.
Ugh. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So I was glad that, I mean, I can do battles. Really, like, that doesn't bother me. I'll do battles all day. So continue, Nate. I just wanted to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, and so then you end up, I'll skip ahead a little bit. Because there's a lot of story. You don't need all the details,
Yeah.
honestly.
No need to touch on it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and so eventually you're teaming up with Eric now, and you find out Eric helped steal this red orb from the castle, and he wants to get it back. You find out that it's been sold, essentially, and you have to try to steal it again. So you end up going to... So you're trying to get back to... You want to go back to Cobblestone, but Eric's like, we got to get this orb, man. It's worth a lot of money. And so... Eric's like, yeah, I'll come with you back to Cobblestone. We can check out and see what's going on there, but help me do this first. So that's when you get to the real first dungeon of the game, as you go into this temple where they're holding the red orb. You get in there, and you see that like all the Heliodorian knights that were guarding it are dead, and it's full of monsters. And
Yeah, that place is intense.
yeah, so like, it was the first like, whoa, things happen here. So you basically battle your way through this entire dungeon, and you, of course, get the red orb and head to Cobblestone, which is when you get to Cobblestone, you find out that Jasper's investigation was really just destroying the entire town.
Like leveling it. Fucking dude, I mean it is, and that's kind of introduced in like when you first get there, everything's hunky dory, right?
Oh yeah, there's the you see the Yggdrasil flashback.
Yeah, because you go in to talk to your mom, and she's like, "You're not my kid. Who the fuck are you?" And then she kind of just like, "Get out of my house." And you go wandering off to is it the river? Or you walk down by the river and you see yourself as a little kid.
Who is also fully voice acted. That was the weirdest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6-year-old Luminary has actual lines.
Yeah, maybe he just took a vow of silence or something. But you talk to your grandpa, and the grandpa, I believe, starts filling you, like, he knows who you are, and he knows that, like, this is a vision of the past. I don't know, that was a very strange section to me, so I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, it's essentially that. It's like, your grandpa's like, I didn't know it was going to go down like this, or I wouldn't have told your mother to send you to Heliodor to talk to the king. And basically, that's when you find out that he's left you something at the bottom, where he dug a hole next to this stone, there where you go to the next area. I think it's like the port.
The three-sided rock.
Yeah. So that's where you were thinking of.
Yeah. Now this is where my save game was at. I had gotten the key and I had to make my way to the gate of Transcendence. Is the gate of Transcendence the gate of?
Yeah. Is that it? Okay.
Something
That sounds
else.
right.
Yeah. So it's a gate of departure. The gate of departure. And you start making your way there, and obviously, Henrik catches up with you. It's like, not so fast, Darkspawn.
Pretty good impression. I like it.
And he fails. And this is where, when I first played through this, the game lost me a little bit, because I was like, are we on the same continent? Where the fuck am I?
Yeah, it definitely takes you to somewhere completely new that you are completely unfamiliar with the surroundings. And funny enough, like, I have Steam pulled up, the achievement is called Terra Incognita, awarded for making your way to an unknown land.
Yeah, which ends up being like in the same world. So for some reason, I thought that going through that portal was taking you to like another realm or another dimension or something. But then, like, once you see Henrik show up again, I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. It just got us away from him for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just a little bit in a different part of the world. Eventually, they'll probably still be looking for you, and you start to relax a little bit, because you don't feel like you're being chased as much now that you're here. And you make your way to the next town over there called Hato, and this is where I have to take a quick little break and say, I'm also playing through Dragon Quest III for the first time that I've gotten as far as I have in it anyway. And when you get into Hato, you hear the nice music playing. It's the same music as from the town of Japang in Dragon Quest III, which I would not have known until today when I first got to Japang.
Oh, that's awesome.
It blew me away too, because when I got to this town in 11, I was like, this music's really cool. It got stuck in my head for a while. I couldn't figure out why I heard it before. Watched Nate streaming 3. I'm like, oh my god, this is the Japango theme. What the heck? They used the exact same melody, and it sounds so good in the NES. It sounds so good on the symphonic version, man. That was just really neat. One of those little fun throwbacks that I really love about the Dragon Quest games.
I wonder how many of the references are there from the other games, because there's another reference too, right? The Puff Puff.
Yeah, that's in the next town after this one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Then continue. I will let you continue. You're doing a good job.
So yeah, once you're in, I don't want to go through the whole thing. It's a long drawn out section for a small amount of story, to be honest. But basically, you meet this girl there named Veronica, and she tells you her sister's in trouble, and you go to this dungeon to basically help save her sister. You get there, and you find her sister, who's supposed to be her little sister, is a full-grown woman named Serena. And basically, you find out that Veronica, this little girl you met, basically the monsters in the dungeon were trying to steal her magic abilities, but instead they sucked her age at the same time as her magic abilities, so you have to defeat the monsters there, named Jarvis, who they're just full of jar puns for some reason.
Yeah, dude, he's a fun first, like, antagonist, almost, because he's the first one that really talks shit to you.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. So basically you have to beat him to get Veronica's magic back, and you find out that both Serena and Veronica have already clocked you as the Luminary, and there's like, oh, guess what? We serve you.
Yeah, and to me it made me laugh too, because it's like, all right, Veronica gets her magic back, but she's still a little kid.
Yeah.
Even though she's the same age as the one who's an adult. I was like, that's that Japanese trope thing of there's always like one that looks like a little kid but is actually old.
Yeah.
But I do love that instead of it being played up as a, quote, sexy thing or whatever, it's just, no, everyone still treats her like a small child. She gets thrown out of bars whenever she tries to go into them.
Yeah. Yeah, and she gets real pissed about it.
She's always angry and mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is the complete opposite of her sister, who is just the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, once you save them, you go back to town and you learn about this thing called the Rainbow, which is supposed to be a branch of the tree of Yggdrasil, which I guess at that point we should kind of bring up what Yggdrasil is, which Yggdrasil is the tree of life, where it's said that all life comes and ends from. And so they're the sages of Arborea, and Arborea is like protector of Yggdrasil, basically. And so that's how they start telling you about, we need to get the Luminary to Yggdrasil. And no one knows how to get to Yggdrasil. And they hear about this branch that fell off of Yggdrasil called the Rainbow. And somebody in town tells them, oh yeah, I met this merchant. And he says he sold it to the town of, help me here.
Octagonia?
Galapagos.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's
Galapagos?
Galapagos, yeah. So that's what you guys decide to do, is head to Galapagos to try to track down the Rainbow. And when you get to Galapagos, it's sort of like your typical...
It's Italy.
No, it's not.
No, Galapagos was Italy. No, I'm so confused. Sorry, Galapagos was the...
it's more like the Arabic town. And so you get to Galapagos, and you meet the Sultan's son, basically, who's this cowardly prince type that kind of uses manipulation to get what he wants, but not in like a devious way, just because he's kind of incompetent in every other way other than through words.
If you don't help him, he's gonna die, basically.
Yeah. So basically he asks, so basically you have to he invites you to go to the circus in town to kind of tell you what he wants you to do for him to help you get this Rainbow that he tells you they have. So finds out that's where he found out he's kind of a coward, and he neglected his knightly training, and he needs you to do a stand-in and race in his stead in the Galapagos race, basically the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, he just assumes that you can ride a horse.
Yeah.
And shit.
It's like the Prince and the Pauper situation. It's like, oh, we have the same body type. You do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a race. It's called the Sand National. It's like the coming of age ceremony for princes of Galapagos. Is that they ride in that and actually try to race in it. And he's like, he has never ridden a horse, so he is like scared he's going to shame himself and his family.
Yeah, and you see this cool circus performer while you're there named Sylvando the Great.
Yeah, Sylvando. Hello, darling.
So that's really your first taste of Sylvando, too. You see him doing his act, and you can see he kind of clocks the prince. You can tell that's the prince sitting there with these four whoever they are while he's performing.
And then it comes up that he is who you race against, too, isn't it?
Yeah. So you agree to do this, and you get there, and you're racing, and there's like a couple of other insignificant racers, but Sylvando shows up like, oh, hello, Principal.
Yeah, it is. he's got this thing on his horse to make it look like a peacock.
Yeah.
Where it's just like big feathers. Like he is very flamboyant.
He's fantastic.
And just out there and eccentric, and I love it.
It cannot be overstated that the word to describe Sylvando is extra. He does everything too much.
In the best way.
I love him. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the other night, man, I think me and Nate both were like, when Zalnoff was like, Sylvando, I try to forget about him. And we were like,
how dare you?
How dare you, darling? Like, Sylvando is great. So I believe after the race is when you're just like talking to the prince. You switch before you could even switch back. Sylvando comes in to say something to the prince, and both of you are standing there in the armor. And Sylvando just kind of puts his hands together like, "Oh, the plot thickens," or whatever the hell he says.
Yeah, he starts like kind of talking down to the prince, like you need to toughen up and be able to do things for yourself. Like he was coming from Sylvando to the prince, and the prince is like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
Like, shut up, you're a jester and I am the prince, man. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, essentially that. Then you finally do get back to the Sultan, and Sultan's so proud of his son. He's like, then you find out that this creature that comes like every Sand National to terrorize the town is back again. Surprise, because it's the Sand National. And the Sultan's like, you're a man. Prince Faris, you must go defeat the monster. And of course, the guy who neglected all of his nightly training is like, oh god, I'm screwed.
Yeah, he's like, come to my room, I will speak with you.
The rain bow will have
you go into the room. And I remember he just like jumps into the air and lands on the ground and bows down. It's like, please, 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 please help me, please. Oh God, please help me. I don't want to die.
Just hilarious. Of course you agree to help him. And
then on your way out, that's when you're joined by Sylvando, but he's not in your party. He's kind of just an extra, right?
He's like, oh, please let me help come along. I'm afraid the prince is going to get himself killed. Essentially. So you're like, okay, come along, Sylvando. So you do get out there, and you find the monster, and of course you defeat the monster, because y'all are awesome at this point. Because you have the party of 4, plus Sylvando helping out. And the monster's like this big, giant scorpion monster thing. It's pretty scary to look at. It was a really good boss. I like the first one that I think was a little bit difficult if you hadn't leveled yourself a little bit before going into the Slayer of the Sands.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, Willie, what was your experience going into this? Because I feel like this was the first major boss battle.
This was the first boss fight that felt like intimidating, like a boss fight. Like Jarvis, maybe the first like named boss with dialogue, but this is the first one where the game is pretty much explicitly telling you, "Hey, this thing kills people." Like,
yeah, this thing's
you gotta be ready. And I actually didn't have that much trouble with the fight. Like afterwards, I'm like, this game is really easy. Sidebar, that doesn't remain the case if you stay under leveled, but I didn't end up having too much trouble with the fight, but he put some hits on me that were strong enough that I had to actually plan in that fight,
Yeah. That's one critique I've read about this game is that it's too easy. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that or not, but that's to each.
It just depends on how you play it, honestly. If you are a grinder and level up a lot, yeah, it's going to be pretty easy.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like I've earned it being easy when I grind.
Mm-hmm.
So
we were talking about emergent goals in games, and like one of the things that is really easy to do in the Dragon Quest type of game is to go, hey, I'm feeling a little bit like my weakest character's kind of naked out there. Let me just go earn 2,000 gold coins and get them a new piece of armor. And like those add up over time, to getting you armor and experience and levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the best part of
there.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna tell you to go ahead.
I'll say the best part is like
you guys should go ahead.
Thanks. So you tie up the monster having been defeated. You take it back to town with you, and that's the best part is when you get back to town and Prince Faris is there taking all the credit, waving at everybody like, "Yes, I did it, ha ha ha," and all this kind of stuff. And that's when the monster kind of wakes up and breaks through its chains.
Yeah, and bursts back to life.
Yeah, and everyone's like, you have to do it, Prince Faris, and Prince Faris is obviously mortified, like peeing in his pants, essentially, being scared of this monster, and and that's when Sylvando stands up, like from the distance, being the badass dude he is, and starts reciting, like, the Knight's Pledge, and makes Ferris repeat it after him, giving Ferris actually the courage to stand up to the Slayer of the Sands by himself. Of course, Ferris doesn't do a good job, and Sylvando saves him in the end, but that's just all in a cutscene, too. It's not like a repeat of the fight or anything. But it's just a really cool scene where you see Sylvando, this big, flamboyant, goofy dude, just come out and be the complete badass. And I just love that kind of message that sends, like, everybody can be a badass.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Sylvando is like a knightly knight for being a jester.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows his shit, you know what I'm saying? And he's good with a sword too. And it was cool to watch him inspire the courage in the prince for the prince to at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree.
And after all that, you find out they already sold the rainbow.
Of course. And from there, that's when you head to the port city, right?
Yeah, because you find out Sylvando's like, hey, let me come with you, because, like, we all want the same thing here. We want to spread happiness through the world, and, with that dark one involved, there can be no happiness. So I want the same thing you do. Let me join your party. And so Sylvando joins you, and then you find out he has a boat. And the boat is in the next town, which is...
Gondolia.
Huh?
Gondolia,
yes.
Gondolia.
Which is Italy.
That one's Italy. I got my G's mixed up.
Golly, dude, there is a lot of story in this beginning of the game already.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like, mini quests that last about 2 to 3 hours, but are kind of self-contained episodes. It's kind of the Dragon Quest way, I feel like.
Yeah, and like I said, we don't have to touch on every little beat point, because I know, like, in Gondolia, there's, like, some shit going on with this... what was it? The boat race or something?
Yeah, the Mr. Signor Universo contest. So basically, Mr. Universe contest is going on when you get there, and you do some stuff and help. Like, I'm gonna skip through story points because there's too much to go through, and we've already been on this for a while. So basically, you do the story quest there, but that's when Jasper actually catches up with you, and you actually have to do battle with Jasper there. And Willie, what do you think about the Jasper fight?
Actually, the first time I, like, had all my guys get down to 0 hit points was when the guards surrounded me right before the Jasper fight. So that's actually a battle you're allowed to lose. So that's
I didn't know you could lose that.
Yeah, it just ends up getting you captured faster.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I didn't either, because I was like...
Well, it was when I only had the Luminary.
Yeah, that's how that starts out. Okay, but and then Jasper, he's pretty tough, actually. He takes a long time to take down.
Yeah, Jasper actually, I mean, I still felt like he was really tough, but didn't threaten me as much as he could have. Like, I don't feel like he killed any of my party members or anything, but he, it was. I feel like you got a lot of character out of that fight. Like, I feel like you kind of learned a lot.
Yeah, I think he was like cocky, arrogant, thinks he's the best. And
speaking of the best, I think it's right after that fight is one of my favorite scenes so far.
Yes, go ahead and describe that.
And it's when Sylvando, like, looks to the right and says something, and he's like, "Just trust me," and then runs and jumps off the side of this ledge, and everyone's just kind of watching him do it. And then it goes back, and you're talking to Jasper again and everything, and then you just see this big-ass ship start sailing through, and standing on the very front of it, like, all proud as shit, is Sylvando, just up like Captain Morgan, just riding on the front of this ship as it comes by. And that just, I want a picture of just that, like him just posted up on the front of his ship, because it is just fantastic.
And his ship is as colorful and over the top as he is.
Yep. And the guy who drives it is Dabe. Dave.
Yeah, it's spelled Dave.
And he looks like all the other goons except his is pink.
Yeah. And by the way,
I love it.
Speaking of that, just calling back to older things in the game, things in the series, that character model, basically that Dave is based off of, has been around since Dragon Quest II.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, real quick, is it Gondolia that has the poof?
No, that was actually in Gallopolis. So Gallopolis actually has a scene that's exactly the same as the one in Dragon Quest III with the puff puff scene as well, which is hilarious, which is the one where you go upstairs, turn off the lights, and you find out it's her dad.
Yeah. Yeah, so for those who don't know, the Puff Puff thing is like this innuendo joke that's been in a lot of the Dragon Quest games, where very pretty women will ask you if you would like to join them in a room for some Puff Puff. And I think it's insinuated that you're going in there to get like a nice handy or like a blowy maybe, or even some booty. But I believe it's revealed later well, actually, we won't get into that because I don't know if Willie's seen that or not. So
yeah,
there have been some scenes that implied different things in different games too. I think it's just kind of a non-specific sexy thing. Because like there's a scene in 8 that definitely implied that it had something to do with female top parts.
Yeah. For sure. Well, it'll explain itself later in the game.
But it's hilarious because there was just basically another recreation of a scene from 3 and 11 right there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. The little callbacks are fun to find.
Yeah. But, okay, from Gondolia, you actually found that the merchant had taken the... there was a merchant that sold it to Octagonia. Finally, that's actually where it is. You go to Octagonia basically from... Gondolia, thank you. Yep. And then it's one of my things I think is the funniest is there's a scene there where you get there and it's kind of like you start talking to people, they are like y'all and stuff, and you find out that their big thing in their town is they have every year an annual MMA competition, masked martial arts competition.
Yeah. Which I thought was genius.
It's fun. It's like, of course you have to get involved because you find out that the rainbow is the top prize of it, and it's like something in between like gladiator combat and tag team pro wrestling.
Yeah, and this is where you meet Buff Keanu.
He does sound like Keanu now you say that.
He does. He sounds like
very California voice.
Yo, my name's Vince. Guess we're gonna be fighting together today, partner. Like, it's very...
So the whole shtick there is they you get tag teamed up randomly with a person, and you get tag teamed with the last year's champ Vince Vanquish, essentially. And while you're there, you go through the martial arts competition, and there's another team that's like just blowing everybody else out of the water. With 2 people like Rab and Jade are their names. But
yeah, now originally Jade was going to be on your team, but then Rab has it switched around. And then you end up with Vince. So, yeah, then continue.
Yeah, and a cute little thing is like they do a random drawing, everybody gets a number. The hero's number draws is 11, and I just made that connection this playthrough, and I thought that was cute. But it's funny, too, because you find out that some of your party members had also joined the competition, and you get to watch a cutscene where Eric gets completely destroyed by Jade.
Yeah, and then Veronica talking shit to him later. What happened out there? Were you too distracted by our legs? I mean, I would be. I'd be like, yes, ma'am, you can kick me. That's okay.
So eventually, of course, you win the tournament, beat them, but only because you beat them in the fight, and then it goes to another cutscene where Rab essentially sees your mark on your hand. That's the mark of the Luminary. It's like, what? And then once he's distracted, Vince just knocks him out.
Gives him the biggest fucking drop kick I've ever seen. Just boom! That little old man goes flying onto his ass.
It's basically the same thing happens to Jade too, where Jade gets distracted, and then Vince is like, "Hey, partner!" And you jump off Vince's back and slice her with your sword.
Yeah, how that doesn't just cut her in half and she's dead now, I don't know, but that's just JRPG logic.
Yeah. But eventually, to cut through the story a little bit faster, you find out Vince has been cheating all for the last couple years because, he runs the orphanage in town, and he has to keep money flowing into the orphanage because he grew up there, man. And you find out he's been like basically feeding fighters to a giant spider in a dungeon. And using like byproduct from that as a power drink, basically.
Yeah, I guess the spider would suck the fighting essence out of the fighters and give it to Vince, but then Vince, like, it was eating him from the inside out over the years, and like it was a very strange thing. Also, Vince never opens his eyes, but like twice the whole time you talk to him.
Very Brock.
Yes.
Energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, you kill the spider and you move forward from there, and then Rab basically then you go to claim your prize the next day or whatever, and you found out where your prize was supposed to be. A note was left that says, "I have the rainbow. It's safe with me. Come meet me at the ruins of Dundrasil." Love, Rad.
Now, when I was first playing through this on PS4, and I got to this point, I was like, "Oh god damn it! Is the whole game going to be chasing this one fucking item?" And thankfully, it's not. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, so it's like from there you move to go
Dragon Quest
to there.
Skittles, chase the rainbow.
He wants you to meet them at the ruins of Dundrasil,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and take over.
Dundrasil is a kingdom that had been destroyed a little bit before the events of the game. Actually, I think the destruction of Dundrasil it happened the same time as when you were a little baby and you got washed up.
Yeah, around the same time. And there's a lot of story revealed there. Do you want to get into that?
Either we end this episode on, like, basically the story part of this episode on that, or we start the next one on that. That's up to you guys. I'm kind of storied out talking. So if one of y'all want to cover that part, go ahead.
I don't know. I feel like if there's anything more mechanical we wanted to talk about, that would be interesting. Because I feel like we covered a lot of the aesthetics and the story. But, like, are there any gameplay-related things that you thought were interesting?
Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and cut story now. We'll start talking about gameplay. Some of my favorite parts of the game are some of the battle mechanics. So we haven't covered that at all, essentially. And depending on who you have in your party, because you'll have 5 people in your party at the point we're talking about, there are things called pep powers. And so, like, basically, if you get hit through enough fights and everything, occasionally you'll get this thing called pep, where just by yourself you start doing more damage, taking less damage, and it just makes basically your character a little bit better in every way for, like, I think it's like 7 or 8 turns until it wears off. And there's also something called a pep power there, where you can join up with other members of your team if they're also pepped up and use a special devastating attack or ability-enhancing maneuver that's usually incredible, that lasts a set amount of time as well. And that
My favorite one so far is Wildside, where Eric gets to attack twice per turn, and he gets basically defense +2, attack +2, magic defense +2, and all that. And he has like this cool red-eyed look in the cutscene.
Yeah, and that one requires you to have the hero, Serena, and Eric all pepped up at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's cool stuff like that, like, you know, we talk about being such a traditional battle system, but it has something really cool in that pep power that I said, I'm not as well versed in every RPG, this, like I think you two are, but I don't think I've seen anything like pep power or anything else before.
If pep power reminded me of anything from an existing game, it's kind of like a cross between the tension system from Dragon Quest VIII and the triple tech system from Chrono Trigger. Because the tension system is a similar way of kind of building to a limit breaky status, which I guess it's kind of a limit breaky status, wouldn't you say? But then, like the triple text in Chrono Trigger, it's very specific as to who you bring into the party that you can actually do these moves.
Yeah, and I feel like if it pulled inspiration from anything, it'd probably be the text from Chrono Trigger.
Just another Square Enix joint.
Yes, sir. I really enjoy the battle system. I don't use it, but I do. Like, I think I touched on this in the beginning. I really appreciate the camera that you can do the free roam, because I am a screenshot whore.
Yeah.
So, like, anytime I can get a good screenshot, I'm all about it. And so being able to do the camera mode, and I believe that they've added a photo mode.
Yeah, there is a photo mode.
Which I haven't checked that out yet, but I really need to, because I would like to. There's a couple different areas in the game that I really like to snag a picture
It's
of.
cute. It's like basically you can take selfies with your thing. You can do a bunch of different poses with your characters and have them standing in front of a certain area, and just, it's cute. I like it.
Awesome. And then, of course, the return of metal slimes.
Oh, gotta love metal slimes, man.
Which you are always wanting to find.
Yeah, massive experience for a battle, but they're extremely hard to kill and they run away like crazy.
Yeah. But Eric with Boomerang and that Metallurgy, or Metal Rang, whatever the hell it's called, is that move helps out a lot.
Then Hero can learn Metal Slash on sword.
Yeah, see, I have my hero using a great sword, but I might switch that up because I miss dual wield. I just got dual wield for Sylvando. So, like, the character builder, each character has, like, the ability to use 2 different weapons. And they have a skill tree for each, and you kind of just have to decide. Now, if you want to change your mind and do something else, then obviously you can.
Yeah, I actually did.
But it costs gold.
Because I had Serena on spear for a minute, and I didn't like it, so I changed her back to 1s.
Yeah, I have her on spear right now as well, and I don't like it either.
She just doesn't get as much damage out of it as you'd want, and it ends up not giving her the cool... Like, the wand benefit where you can, like, siphon MP off of enemies you hit makes her a lot more... You have to rest less, you know? I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I really enjoy dual wield. I am going to try to level Eric enough that I can get dual wield in the dagger thing and see if I can use that with boomerangs, because that would be sweet, but I don't know if it'll work. I think I'm currently... What level are y'all sitting at?
33.
I think around 26.
Yeah, I think I'm at like 35.
I'm lower level than you and way further in the game.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man. Once we get past the point that we were talking about earlier and the game opens up, I hit Slime Island and just spent a ton of time there. And I lucked out, dude. 3 battles in a row, I got 5 metal slimes and was able to kill every one of them.
Whoa.
3 in
That's
a row, and then did not see another one for like 40 minutes. But still racking up experience, just going around killing stuff, You know, but I did like one of the worst things. So metal slimes, notorious for running the fuck away, and I can't tell you how many times and I'm sure you too, Nate, have gone into a battle, and there's like 3 metal slimes, and you're like, yes, and then you click fight, and the first thing that happens is all 3 of them run away.
Dude, it's actually really funny because the day I was playing Dragon Quest III, ran into 8 metal slimes, all of them ran away.
Oh man, oh god, that would fucking drive me crazy.
The worst part is he actually got one of them down to half hit points too, and it was the one that stayed the longest.
Oh man,
Metal Slime E, you're a real bastard.
Oh man, is there anything else that you gentlemen would like to touch on?
I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I think I've covered about what I need to today.
Hey man,
y'all were covering the customization where you get to choose a weapon and then choose like a tech tree for your character, and like that's also one of the things I thought was... I think that's really fun. That it gives you those choices, but also like you can just go to a church and hit like basically a respec button, and you can just go all the way back. You don't lose anything.
Some gold.
So there's no like.
As long as you have the gold for it, which it can't. I think it can get expensive later in the game.
It never gets bad, especially later in the game. You have so much money, it doesn't really matter.
Fair enough.
Boy, I envy that right now.
Yeah. I'm broke. I've got a ton of casino coins, but no actual gold.
Oh.
I didn't realize you couldn't cash those back out.
No, you can just buy prizes.
Yeah. Well, we haven't gotten to casino yet, guys.
Yeah, I know.
It's an RPG.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah,
we can talk about mechanics next time.
So next week, we will be talking about a game about a dragon.
Not Dragon Quest.
Not Dragon Quest. And then the week after that, we'll be back to Dragon Quest. And whether we have it beat by then or not, we shall see. I'm going to assume that there's probably at least 2 more episodes left, at least. So, but we'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out. Again, everyone, the steammachinepodcast.wordpress.com. Everything that you want for the show is there. Like I said earlier, the Discord, the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube. That's actually, I don't even think I have YouTube linked on there because I just haven't been uploading the stuff to that. If you like the intro song, hey, I made that. You can go buy the album that came out on Bandcamp. Nate, go ahead and plug your stuff. Buddy.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I've kind of sub-plugged it a couple times during this recording session anyway, but you can find me on Twitch, on twitch.tv/TurtleBearman, and same username on Twitter.
And Willie, I'm going to jump out on a limb and say that you haven't streamed or tweeted since the last episode, right?
No, but I might play some Mario 2 on stream because that's the Tadpog game of the week or game of the month, and that might be fun.
Yeah, shout out Tadpog, Taiwan Dave Playo Games. Those guys rock.
Taiwan Dave Playo Games, great podcast, great community. Love those fools to death. But yeah, if you want to find me on Twitch or Twitter for some reason, it's at Icebrand Studios.
Boom.
No underscore, just all together.
Well, I think that about does it for this week's episode of the Steam Machine Podcast, man. This is, again, the year anniversary, and what better way than to talk about one of my favorite JRPGs with 2 of my favorite peeps. So, like, I appreciate everybody for listening, and here's to many more years. As always...
Happy birthday, Steamy.
Yeah, happy birthday, Steamy. He's Nate. He's Willie. I'm Dalton. As always, guys, take it easy.